The town of Johnston is now home to a new multi-million-dollar recreation center. Look at them clapping. The grand opening today drew a huge crowd, and thankfully for those in attendance, it's an indoor facility.
I usually tell my athletes there's no crying. But this is truly a great day in Johnston.
This whole thing about coaching, it wasn't just coaching to win games. It was coaching to win in life.
That coaching aspect, it was something that, growing up, that was our lives. That was him as a dad, and I don't think I'd change it. I loved it.
He was real. He was an assertive person who, when he walked into a gym, his presence was shown. And that's the realness.
I never got a good job because my dad saw it as, you should be playing like that because that's how good you are.
That's one of the biggest things that I took from him is if you're gonna do something, you gotta go all out and you have to do it.
Whenever you needed something, he was always there. That was Danny.
A rainy day, we gotta get our game in. Dan Mazzulla, as the recreation director, would be on the field with the rubber boots on, pumping the field out. There's no other recreation director in the state that would be doing that.
I've never seen anybody get here at 7:15, 7:30 in the morning and go home at 9, 10 o'clock at night because teams didn't have a coach or they needed a referee.
He employed kids to make sure they had jobs, had money in their pockets.
He wanted to teach people what it meant to work hard.
That's his whole goal. Help young people be better people.
If you wanted to play something, you were going to play. You would find a way and make it happen.
He was all about community. He was like a Superman. There was more than basketball to him.
Neal has it knocked away and picked up by Graziano. To Mazzulla, coming down for the Panthers, goes to the foul line, to Pagliaro from the left corner, that hits! 41-24, 17-point lead for the Panthers as we begin the second half. Stolen away by Mazzulla, the layup is good! 19-point lead for the Panthers.
Recruiting, he just said he can play. He wasn't the fastest guy in the world, and everybody said, he's going to score a lot of points for you. And I said, I'm not looking for a lot of points for him. He can play defense. And he's an excellent passer. And all he wanted to do was win. All the other stuff didn't matter if he scored any points. I mean, he had that mindset, which is a coach's dream.
Then he was always tough player, real tough. In high school especially, we had three or four, I don't know, 4 guys or 3 guys. 3 guys made All-State on our team. Mike, Pag, Paulie, and Danny, they were eventually All-State. So they didn't get the ball much. I mean, we used to go out a lot and do things together, and I could tell, like, the way he would, if we got in a confrontation or something, he had this way about him that would just, people would just automatically respect him. And that, that transcended into when we played together, even with softball and all that other stuff. We used to play a lot of places, but in general, people always, kind of deferred to whatever he said, even though he wasn't right all the time.
I thought we'd have a lot of problems because he started off very aggressively, and him being a sophomore and going through his freshman year, and then me coming in with 4 other freshmen that next year. He was very confrontational, to say the least. But with me and him going at it nose to nose on a pretty regular basis, we became best of friends from there on in. And that happened very quickly.
Well, when the whistle was blown and we're going to start playing, whether it's scrimmage or anything else, he was full speed ahead in practice. And initially, not all the guys on the team, wait a minute, we're trying to learn all the different things, the slide and where I go. Danny was ready to go. And he made it difficult on his teammates. You're going to have to work. You're going to get a shot off near me, that type of thing.
I think he got some of that from me because I wasn't as good as him, but I pushed him. You know what I mean? I pushed him. I was, oh, you punched me in the face. Danny would think nothing of whacking you.
It was hard-nosed, dragged down pickup games that made a lot of individuals better. And my brother Dan happened to be one of those individuals. To say if I had to get our closest friends when we first grew up together and say, okay, where do we think Dan's ceiling would be in terms of athletic success? I'm not sure we could have put our finger on it.
De Curicó, el que está en el círculo del rectángulo. Aliento para Osorno cuando ya se va a dar comienzo a este partido definitorio. Añerén para López. De acuerdo a la reglamentación de este campeonato nacional, no pueden actuar más que 2 extranjeros en cancha. Ese es Garland. La salida para Mazzulla.
Dan was, he was tall but not big, but he played like a big player. He was very strong. He will rebound, he was one of the best rebounders. A very intense player, very aggressive player. Although his temper was a little on the edge.
He just wanted to get in your head. If you said, "Oh, stop that," I'm going to do it again. If you bang him back, he goes, oh, "You're my type of guy. I'm going to pick you to be on my team."
It actually cost me 1 nose fracture because in a game that we were playing on the National League, he got in a fight, and a small fight with another U.S. players in the other team. After a play under the basket, they started arguing, and they went to the floor and started kicking. So I run and try to pull Dan out of the fight. I don't get in a fight. And one guy from the bench, he came into the court and just knocked me down. So I said, next time I'm not helping anybody.
Then in North Providence, they had to call the state police. I don't know, somebody pushed Danny into the wall. They were like a big rival in North Providence. Somebody pushed Danny into the wall, and then somebody come running out of the stand, grabbed the kid, threw him against the thing, and a brawl. And then when we were in Bryant, me and Danny chased the kid down into the locker room because I think the kid spit at him or something. So me and him ran into the other team's locker room, and we were in more fights than I'd rather mention.
As on the basketball court, as a friend, you'd go to war with him anytime because he always had your back. He was a coach on the floor, no matter, right from I met him as a sophomore. He was leading seniors at the time because he was playing the full game, and as most of the game as a sophomore right through. And he was, as they say, he was a coach on the court.
It just carried from my father to him, us all going to games, and again, whether it was softball. But like I said, we were brought up like that. We did that from when we were young. We did that with my parents. Everybody went to his games.
If you ever wanted to rob a house in Johnston, you'd probably do it during a Bryant game because half the town would come see him play.
His biggest gift, something that he really wanted us to have, was the mindset. The ability to handle adversity, the ability to continue to work even though you may be successful, the ability to work if it doesn't go your way. And so I think the thing I'm most grateful for as I reflect is obviously the sacrifices that he made for our family, but also for just the gift that he left of the ability to navigate life.
It's definitely, a misunderstanding when you go to a game and you see this big, huge guy, and he's yelling and screaming, but it was passion, and it was, I care about you as a player, I care about you as a person, and, this is my way of getting it out of you.
It just carried from my father to him. It was watching the same thing. They gave every minute of every day to the children of Johnston.
Danny did things for kids that a lot of people don't even know. He employed kids to make sure they had jobs, had money in their pockets. He sheltered kids he meant everything to a lot of people. I always said when he passed, I said he meant a lot to a lot of people, you know, and that's just what he is. He just took the job over, and he was all about the kids and making things fair and making sure the kids had somewhere to be and somewhere to go, something to do.
Everything in him was about good, just like his old man, just like his father, Danny Sr. Then when he passed, I became director for 15 years, and Danny was the assistant director for 15 years. So it was going to kind of pass the torch, but not only the torch, the attitude and how to survive, or how to make a recreation department better.
Like Vin was the director, and he would he trusted everybody, Vin, you know what I mean? But Danny was kind of the other face of the rec. He was out at night with the different leagues and everything, and you could just tell Danny just didn't go by his job title. You know what I mean? If he saw something that had to get done, he would do it, even when he was director. Guys need help with the maintenance department, he would do it, even though he was horrible. He loved the Turf Tiger, horrible at it. He wanted to help, but the guys were, oh, Dan, it's all right, it's all right. He was like, no, I'll get on it, and get the phone call, Jack, bring a pair of scissors, because he'd run over a net and it'd be all tangled up.
I adopted his father's philosophy of you can't work in the Department of Recreation. You can't work it. You have to live it.
Danny's work ethic, I've never seen anything like it. You know, I've never seen anybody get here at, 7:15, 7:30 in the morning and go home at 9, 10 o'clock at night because teams didn't have a coach or they needed a referee.
He loved everyone within the town. He wanted everyone in the town to be successful. He wanted the best for everyone, and he just wanted everything to be perfect in a sense to where everyone was happy. And that's why being the Parks and Rec director was an amazing job for him, because he can touch so many lives and have such a positive impact for a lot of people within the community, ranging from people he has to cut the lawn with, and people that are playing basketball, people that are playing soccer, track, like everything. He just wanted everyone to be successful and happy.
He just really took care of the community, the local community, and just was always there. And that's all you can say about Dan, is he was always there and looking into the future, always trying to make the programs better, always trying to build the programs to larger. But he just wanted everyone always involved. If you wanted to play something, you were going to play, and he would find a way and just make it happen.
Me now as the Parks and Recreation Director, my plan is to pick things up right where he left them, because we haven't had that in the last couple of years. So my goal is to pick things up right where he left them, not only for the youth sports, but the community events, where he always showed his face. Everybody in the town knew who Danny was because of all the time that he put in.
When I was working at the camp, the summer camp, as my first job at 16-year-old at the rec, like so many kids do, I remember seeing that blue car pull in, and everybody stood up tall. Everybody made sure that their phones were away. Everybody made sure that they were locked in and ready to go and ready to be at their best just from him pulling in, because nobody wanted to be disciplined by him at that point. And that's something that I take into coaching now. I want to make sure that when I walk in the gym, kids are making sure that they're being the best version of themselves that they can be. And that's ultimately what he was doing.
If you're not fast enough to play with that guy, then you will come out. You can't play, okay? So, we're gonna have them do. I was running this morning at 5:15 this morning. I was running. I said, I wonder if any of my guys are running this morning. Okay? I know you're not running, but my point is, I mentioned to you. That's what passion's all about getting better. Okay? This isn't happening by sitting on your ass.
I always remember him saying, I lost 100 games before I won 100 games. I don't mind losing to prove a point. So if someone needed to be disciplined, or needed to, the bench would be the best disciplinarian, right? He wouldn't hesitate. He would sacrifice a win to make sure that he proved his point and help the kid grow and get better from that. And that's something I took. It's not about winning. Winning is a byproduct of doing all the right things to get to that point. And that was instilled into me by Dan.
That's it. So it's about giving yourself a hell of a lot more than what we're giving ourselves. Okay, so we're not that far off. If you think you're trying hard enough, don't misinterpret. You're not trying as hard as you can possibly try. Some of you are, but the problem is but it's a team, it has to be the majority of it.
Like, to me, a person like him was constantly giving off the passion and emotion by the way he poured into people and by the way he coached and by the way he lived his life. And so I think sometimes people only see emotion or, you know, by when someone cries, but like the way he lived his life was that was his emotion. That was how he poured into people.
He always did it with like love, and he always did it so I think everybody knew that he just wanted us to be the best that we could be. So I don't even think you could like tell his mindset changed. Like he was always pretty, like he was loud and intense, but he was always pretty level-headed with like what he was saying. And I think it definitely helped me because he was so intense. When I went to college, I knew that I was going into an intense game, and I was already prepared for it. So it wasn't like he babied us or whatever, but he definitely made us better.
He showed us a lot about hard work, dedication, grit. He showed us how to build character, how to stay strong. He was very old school sometimes, and that was just part of his character. I mean, there's nobody who, I've never met anybody else who was like him.
This is where we used to get into fights. My dad was extremely old school, so like old school basketball. I think he played without a three-point line. So it's like hard-nosed, rebounding, getting into the ball, just very like old school basketball. So like I would go in the summers with my brother and we would work on like basketball stuff. So I would make like moves like between the legs, crossover, behind the back, like spin move, finishes, threes, whatever. And then I'll do a workout with my dad. And then with my dad, he would be like, all right, we have foam shooting, spot shots, and like X out layups, like old school workouts. And we would get into fights. I would be like, Dad, there's more to basketball than just an X out layup. Like, we gotta do this. No, trust me, like, this will get you to where you have to go.
I had all the red shirts when I was at Fairmont, when I was working for Joe. So I'm in the weight room with the red shirts. I got them lifting. He walks in there, and he's like, oh, you guys aren't doing a real lift. And he legit, I promise you, he legit put all the red shirts through a lift while he was lifting with us. You know what I mean? And this is like he doing push-ups here and there, doing everything. You know what I mean? And it just kind of showed like they're just wired a little different. They can't turn off coaching. They can't turn off just like competitiveness and stuff like that. And I think that like when you have that and you have people who are genuinely want to invest in you, like I feel like they did with me, it's just great. And I really don't feel like, I feel like if you're receptive to it and you're open to it, like you can't fail.
I remember like the Sweet 16, not Sweet 16, Elite 8 game versus Kentucky, you know, like you could see him on TV with a coonskin hat on. Like he was just always different, man. He was always there, always stood out. Like, and when we were playing, sometimes I'd just be looking around, and then Dan's sitting there courtside. I mean, you don't know how he got there or what, but I mean, his presence was always felt. That's basically what it comes down to. I mean, him and Joe had a great relationship. I remember he came up one weekend and we had a party for a teammate. The teammate couldn't go. He wasn't allowed to go. We threw a party, but Dan was there. Dan, and he basically just embodied what he taught me what the Italian culture was. You know what I mean? The family culture of Italian. That culture was just being there and always having each other's back.
He gave me a little bit of confidence in myself to like, go do it. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go do this thing. So like I got the tryouts and I knew it would be hard. The first trial was like nothing I ever like experienced. Like I wanted to throw up, like, and you would hear him like chime in from like the side. Just like, you could do it. You gotta push yourself. Work a little bit harder. And I guess that speaks to like who he was as a person. Like he was just very, very helpful to me.
With him, it was different because, I played for other coaches, being in, business, the industry, meeting owners, all that stuff, people who are in charge. There's a sense of certain people that just yell to project their quote unquote, they're in charge and they just do it to do it. And then there are people who are, they coach loudly or they project loudly, but they have a care for you. And they do it, that's just them because they're into it and they're emotional into it. And I was Danny. Because again, I played for other coaches basketball and I get yelled at and I didn't feel like there was love there. I wanted to yell back. With Danny, it was like, no, I'm not. Yes, sir. Like, yes, coach. Like,
he just wanted to focus on the fundamentals and the discipline. Like, that's really what he was big on. All 7 years I knew him, he was just really big on discipline. He just, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, one day, me and Jeremy, right here, we was late one day on handing in our jerseys and shorts. And then he said 500 push-ups. The next time I see you guys at tryouts. And then me and Jeremy just shrugged it off like, he's not actually gonna make us do it. The first day of tryouts, he said 500 push-ups. We didn't even touch a basketball.
That was the day you found out Coach Dan was about it.
He was such a nice guy to me because he was like my grandfather, so I would never think he was yelling and all that. And then I'm seeing videos, pictures of him on the sideline yelling, and it's crazy. And
yeah, you saw a different.
Yeah.
There was, I think one of my favorite coaching stories of him. He was coaching my cousin Chelsea, and he's jumping up, he's yelling, he's screaming, he's being him. And the referee finally pulls him aside and he says, "Listen, sit down. Do not leave your chair. Do not get up from that chair." So he's like, "You're talking to me? They have words, whatever." The game goes back on. Maybe 10, 20 seconds go by. My dad calls a timeout. He gets up, sticks the chair to his butt, walks onto the court holding the chair, and he gets to the huddle and he goes, "I don't have anything to say. I just didn't want the ref to think that he could tell me what to do." And he walked back to the sideline with the chair and he sat back down. And the ref's looking at him and he's like, "You said don't leave the chair. I took the chair with me."
Well, do you remember the time that we were at Justin's game and he was texting Justin during the game, telling him what he was doing wrong?
When I played, my dad used to text me during the games. Like, my phone would be in the locker room, but he used to text me, "Come on, can't turn that ball over there. Come on, you gotta be more aggressive there. Do this. Like, he was still coaching me, he used to text me. After a really tough game, and my dad texted me, just a big paragraph, and he was just saying, you just have to continue to trust the process, and you gotta continue to fight for what you want, and don't compare yourself to others." And that sounds very small, but where I was mentally, physically, and emotionally in that point in time when we were losing, I didn't know anything really about college basketball. I was a sophomore. Just to get that text from him meant a lot because he never really opens up like that.
I would be confident to say that he'd also probably have his hand around you, all right? He'd show love to you when you needed love, all right? And that's a sign of a great coach. You have to know what each of your players need in any given point of the season, of the game, of a practice. Sometimes they need to be yelled at, sometimes they need an arm around them, sometimes they need to be encouraged, and everywhere in between. I look back and it was just such a great blessing for me to have that opportunity to work with his two sons over the years and help them develop into the person and now the coach, right, that Joe has become, and in the person and the future coach that Justin will become.
Having him around when I was coaching allowed people to understand why we were the way we were. And so when they meet him, it's like, oh, okay, that's why you are the way you are. And, it's very easy once you meet him to understand just kind of the approach and the mindset that he has and how he lives his life. And so, even when he was around while I was being a coach, he was making me a better person because of how he poured into people that he hadn't even met before, and how easy it was for him to flock to the players and share his experiences. And he had never met the players that I was coaching at the time, but he connected with them on a work ethic level, on a, he just had an interesting way of caring. It's hard to explain, but you never, as hard as he was on people, as misleading as it could look, you can never say he didn't care about you.
And he was making sure that if his kids weren't giving him the utmost that they could give, he was going to hold them accountable, and that was his show and style of doing it. He didn't embarrass kids. I never once in all of my years of coaching with Danny felt like he embarrassed a player, but he would hold you accountable. He would make sure that if you weren't doing the right thing on the floor, he was letting you know right then and there. A lot of coaches deal with it different ways. Some don't deal with it there. They deal with it in practice the next day. Some coaches are in your face yelling. Everybody had a different style, but if it comes from the center of love like you did with Danny, I think that's why people understood him that knew him.
Dan and I used to count the stars on the flag during every national anthem before a game, and there was a few times that he said there weren't 50 stars on the flag. I'm like, Dan, I'm pretty sure there are, so we had to recount them. That was our little, I guess, superstition, I guess, before games and things like that. But yeah, there was just so many things that I remember one game in particular. You talk about Dan yelling. Some of it was staged, and I'm going to tell you a funny story about that. It was Chelsea's freshman year. She scathed through the probably 3/4 of the season. There was one game she was really wasn't giving us the Chelsea that we were accustomed to. As we walk into the locker room, he looks at me, he goes, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "For what?" He goes, "Chelsea's going to feel the wrath for the first time," he said. And he was true to his word. He laid into her, and that was the first time she saw it. It was an eye-opener for her.
We had like a packed house, sold out. And I had like PC coming to watch my game, and I ended up getting tripped and I broke my chin open and I was like gushing blood. Everybody's like,
but
yeah,
it didn't matter.
Change your jersey, like, let's go. Later on, he came to the hospital to make sure I had stitches, but and then it was just games like, you know, we're behind and we shouldn't be, and you know, he's banging the clipboard over his knee.
It was 8th grade year, freshman year. I forgot my tie. And I forget who we were playing, but he made me do push-ups before the game started. I don't even know how many he made me do, like 150, 200. And I remember he got mad at me for missing like a shot or two because like I could not feel my arms, could not feel my chest, and I was just like overshooting everything. And I think he just did that as a lesson. Like he knew that like, I wasn't gonna be able to shoot, but also he wanted me to wear my tie and be respectful and just do all the like small things.
A big thing I did notice about Coach is he went out of his way for us a lot too. He gave me several rides home from practice if I didn't have a ride home.
Oh yeah.
And you know, not many people would do that. You know, not many coaches at least would do that for their kids. You know, they're just there to teach them about basketball. But he taught us about life.
I was working one night and then I didn't have like a ride home, so I was gonna walk home. I was kind of scared to ask him, and he was like, "Do you have a ride home?" I was like, "No." So then he took me home, and I don't know, like I don't remember all the conversation, but I just like remember it was one of the most like deepest conversations I ever had. I was around like 16 at the time. He just took the time to like ask me like what's my like goals and aspirations for like life, and that's important to me. And at that point in my life, I was very confused. Like I didn't know what to do with my life. So just having someone like care about like what your goals are in life, because you know we're not here for that long. So everyone has a purpose, and like he always tried to get to know what your purpose is, and he always tried to get the best out of all people.
Well, even at the high school, he would let some of the kids go and live with them from the high school. Well, when they went to high school, he would take them. But that was pretty much his life. He wanted kids to succeed. He wanted to see that.
Like that's how he was like during like the earlier years, but then like towards our like after our sophomore year, he started like laughing a lot more.
He would make us laugh too. Like, he was funny, bro. Like he just.
Like I said, he didn't take no crap. Even when he played ball, he played in a couple of men's league over at CCRI, and he just competed hard. He always competed hard, and he was fair, but he was tough. He was tough. If you got out of line, he'll tell you. You know, if you did something wrong, he don't care. You know, me and him was best friends. But if I did something that he didn't like, he'd tell me. If I did something, he did something that I didn't like, I'll tell him. So we had that type of relationship.
It was me and Justin. We're talking throughout the whole day, like, oh, you want to go play basketball? I'm like, yo, Justin, text my uncle, see if we can use Rhino.
Oh, no.
He swears he texted him. I know he didn't text him. So I just went along with it. He said he texted him. He said we can go use it. I had the key, so I'm like, all right, let's just go. We got like 14 or 15 people easily. We got to Rhino, shot around for a little bit. Me and you walked there too. Shot around for a little bit, played like one game. Everyone stepped outside because it was hot in there. It was no fan, nothing. So we all stepped outside. I see this maroon SUV drive by. I'm like, I swear to God, that's my uncle. Like, I swear on everything that's him. Everyone was like, no, it's not. Like, no, it's not. I'm like, Justin, are you sure you asked? All of a sudden, before he could even answer, you see this maroon SUV flying in reverse. Like, flying. All of a sudden, skirts into the parking lot, pulls up. Everyone runs. I'm the only one.
Bro, can you imagine his face driving by him right over? he was driving by, he looked at the thing, he was like, that's weird.
Everyone ran. Then he comes, pulls in, he goes, everyone get inside. Everyone ran. Everyone left their bags too. I think it was you, Cam, me and you.
We're sitting on the gym, he stopped me.
Yeah, no, me and you were sitting on the bleachers.
Wait a minute, don't leave! Everyone's going out the back door.
Yep. Then me and Cam walked in. We sat on the bleachers. He just started ripping us apart.
One thing about Coach Dan, he was not afraid to air you out. I remember one high school game. I think it was Thomas Zednick's sophomore year. He was good, but he just didn't put it all together yet.
He just didn't know how to
It was like a little bit of footwork. It was like his hands couldn't.
He didn't know how to play. He didn't know how to play.
So he would post up and he'd get wide, but he'd always let somebody come around him or he'd drop the ball. He took him out. He took Zednick by the neck. He was like, you're gonna play catch until you learn how to catch the ball. He was like, Tommy Colombo, come here. He threw me a ball. He was like, play catch with him until he learns how to catch the ball. He was like, don't stop until he catches the ball. I was like, okay. So me and Thomas are straight up just throwing passes back and forth. As the game's going on, we're on the sideline, we're on the bench, and he's coaching still. He's yelling. He was like, keep throwing that ball. Every once in a while, he'd look over. But he would air you out in front of anybody. He did not care.
Was he the best player on the team or not the best player on the team? I think he treated everybody equal. If you didn't come to practice or you didn't come to a game, he didn't care if you were the top scorer or not. You're going to get punished just like the kid that, that doesn't play that.
Like when he would yell, I'm not gonna lie, there would be times where I would go to my parents and I'd be like, yo, what's up with this guy? Why is he on my back? And I can remember my mom always telling me he's only doing that because he just wants you to be better. And I'm like, yeah, but Mom, it's every day.
That's exactly what I used to tell my mom.
I'm like,
oh my God.
I understand, he wants me to be better, but I'm like, Mom, it's every day. Why is he every day? And I'm like, maybe he just cares, but down the road, it goes to show that he really did want the best for not only me, but for everyone around him.
The reality is, you talk to people who actually knew him, and I have to believe they'll agree with about 85 to 90% of what I described as far as his ability to be probably I say an outstanding coach, because it's easy to say, okay, everybody was an overachiever when you win and you're not expected. But the fact of the matter is, he could get his players, especially when he coached women's. I think he had a lot more success coaching women than the men's, because he was only there a short time, but nonetheless. And they would run through a wall for him.
Crowd on hand at Spirito's restaurant celebrating Johnston's Dan Mazzulla, the former Panther basketball star and former head coach recovering from a surgery for a brain tumor. The Mazzulla starting a foundation, Team Danny, to raise money for cancer research. Chemotherapy not stopping Coach Mazzulla. He's back on the sidelines coaching his grandson's rec team.
It was definitely tough, and there was definitely a small period of time where everybody was just kind of frozen, really. Nobody really wanted to make any decisions. Everybody just kind of wanted to, all right, well, let's see, like, maybe this isn't real, maybe it's not happening, but it was a weird time.
Everyone was kind of noticing he was off. And we sat down with my brood one day, and he's like, kind of like, mumbling, just wasn't himself. And we went golfing a couple days early. He was quiet. Even my dad said, Danny was quiet today.
We went right down to the hospital, and they thought it was dehydration and this, that, and the other, and we're waiting. And then I remember going into the room, and they said what it was. It was a brain tumor. And it's like everything just drained right out of you. There's this big, vibrant, good man, and you always hope for the best. You always hope for the best. You say, oh God, you can beat this thing. You can beat this thing. You can beat this thing. But there's something that, the way the doctor described it, it just went, life was just, and it just flew right out of you. He looked up. I said, hey Dan, we can beat this thing. And he says, yeah, we'll give it a shot.
I try to be a positive person by nature, so I guess there was a lot of, to me, optimism, I guess. Okay, well, he was like a Superman, So to hear that he was sick, it was like, well, he'll get through it, Sorry.
He wasn't gonna change who he was as a person, and I think he kind of knew. Like, I think he knew, he might not be around much longer. But the part that I think about a lot and respect, even on his last days, the only thing he cared about was me, my brother, and my sister, and my family. And there were, in the last couple of days, as he was kind of going in and out of it, we would sleep in the room, and he would wake up in the middle of the night and, just see if one of us was there. And to me, it was like he was scared to let go because he wanted to make sure we were okay. So even at his weakest moment, at his dying moment, he cared about us.
Honestly, sorry. He's similar to both of my brothers are similar to him. So, Joe's similar to him in one way, and Justin has recently really tried to fill the hole that I have, without him. So, every once in a while I get a card from Justin, and he's just saying, I'm proud of you, and, I'm proud of where you've been, I'm proud of where you're heading, and it's my dad's words, and he knows it. He's like, listen, and he'll say it too. He's like, I gotta be there for you, like Dad was there for you. And our bond as siblings since he's passed has just, it's strengthened so much. And I think that he's resting easily seeing where we are now.
It was hard seeing him lying in the hospital bed and knowing the road that was ahead for him. It was, not gonna lie, it was a tough thing to bear. Then coming home and then just watching him slow down and his speech going, and just a man so strong, that was a really strong individual, and to see this disease just take him over, it was really hard, especially someone you look up to, and like I looked up to, and it's hard. It's still hard to this day.
But at the same time, while he was sick, he still showed his love for everybody. It didn't matter that he was sick. He still showed how much he loved everyone. Like I said, that winter he came to like all my middle school games. Like, he didn't have to do that. he just, like I said before, he just always showed everything that he loved in his life, whether it was people, whether it was the rec department, whether it was basketball, whether it was watching games, whatever it was. While he was sick, he still showed his personality never changed.
To see this guy with brain cancer, not being able to speak, like barely able to form a sentence, and to show up at work when you don't need to be at work, and to show up in places where you don't need to be at, and you're on chemo, you're on all this stuff, it just showed how like much he believed in hard work and how much he cared for others. Like he felt some type of way sitting on the couch knowing that you and Tommy and those dudes were at work. Like he didn't want to be at home as other people were working because he was like, I'm letting those people down.
Well, he still had the same personality. You know, asking for a coffee when you come up there, do you have a muffin for him? So he still had that same sense of humor.
You text Danny, and like we text before we go over there, and first thing he would say, bring me a coffee. That'd be in his text. I still have his text on my phone, bring me a coffee. Thing is, I think it was fate, honestly. I mean, we have 89 guys in the fire department. What are the odds of him passing on the day he's on duty, and I'm at the station with him talking, and we both go to this house?
So I picked Danny up from the nursing home, and he was supposed to be laying basically in the supine position, which is like laying on your back. And where if he got up, you know, his oxygen percentage decreased significantly.
Well, I stopped by the station. He was at Station 1, which is down on Atwood Avenue, right near Danny's house. And we were just sitting at the table talking just like this. And both know the address. And we knew what it was.
He sat on the couch, and it was Joe, him, Justin, and he died watching Michael Jordan's The Last Dance.
None of us were crying. We were just like, so crazy how God works. Like his entire family, the people he loved the most, the people who he did everything for, his hard work, his dedication, love was just in the house that he grew up, like didn't grow up in, but basically lived in his entire life. And it was so amazing because he was able to like let go, and he just let go.
He just never would give up. He never gave up. Cancer didn't get him. Cancer didn't beat him. He stuck it through for the amount of time that he stuck it through, and he left his legacy how he wanted to leave it. And that was the path that God wanted for him, and that was the path that he took.
He wasn't trying to be this larger-than-life guy who was trying to leave a legacy. He was himself, and that's what made him his legacy.
I found out about his sickness, and I got the job with the Celtics in the same month. And so at that point in my life, you had to accept a dream and a nightmare at the same time. And so pretty much everything that happened from that, it was like, no, like this is how it's supposed to go. This is God's plan. This is the way that it is. And so, you know, I think everything that has played out up until this point kind of started in that moment. And, you know, we had to accept that as a family. And, you know, he went watching basketball with his family. And so it was an honor to be able to speak on his behalf and to express the faith that we had. You know, he would walk to St. Rocco's every Sunday for church. And so to kind of have it all come full circle, you know, to build that legacy in Johnston for him and have that legacy for me to go off to West Virginia, for God to bring us back, and then to kind of be in that church and really try to carry on his legacy was a very powerful moment for my family and I.
Cam Iasimone. I'm Anthony Angelo. Jaden Osborne. Thomas Colombo. Anthony Tavares. Jason Can. Justin Powell. And we're making this video in dedication of our coach, Coach Dan Mazzulla. Dear Coach Dan, you changed the game of basketball for each and every one of us here today and many more. Your legacy in the town of Johnston will live on forever and ever for many generations of young athletes to come.
Dear Coach, thank you for everything you've done for me and my teammates since the 6th grade. You represented everything of what it means to be a great coach. Your legacy will never be forgotten in this town, and I will carry on your motto of hard work and dedication for the rest of my life.
I just want to say thank you to Coach Dan for taking me in freshman year and telling me how hard I was going to have to work and guiding me through my high school career in order to improve not only as a basketball player, but also as a person. Not only for me, but also for my teammates. He was a person we all looked up to and laughed with.
Dear Coach Dan, thank you for the countless lessons you taught me growing up. You truly played a huge role in me becoming the young man I am today. I wish you could be here to see the guys and I graduate, but we know you would be looking down on us. Thank you again for everything you have done for me and my family in the town of Johnston. I will never forget the memories we shared. You were like a second father to a lot of us and the best role model we could ask for.
Thank you for being there for 7 years of my life, teaching us many lessons that were more than basketball. You were more than a coach in my eyes, you were family.
I'm going to miss the talks we shared and how you always held me out through every situation of life. You were more than a coach, you were my friend and a second father figure. Thank you for everything. Rest in peace, Coach Dan.
The things you did for not only me, but for the town and community is unexplainable. You taught me so many lessons on and off the court that I'll never forget. I'm sad that you're not here to be with us, but I know that you're there looking down on us, and I know you're proud.
Love you, Coach.
I usually tell my athletes there's no crying. But this is truly a great day in Johnston.
As far as the building, to get away from the sports and the relationships he had, he would walk into this building and what he taught me was it wasn't just cleaning. Like, you look at hoops, the nets. Do the nets need to be changed? I mean, he could walk in and say, okay, this, and this need to be done. Whereas, he taught me everything I know for this building.
Big day for the Johnston community, the town coming together to dedicate the new indoor recreation center in memory of Dan Mazzulla Jr., the former Panther athlete, coach, and director of Parks and Rec. Such a big figure, literally and figuratively, in his hometown. His two sons, Joe and Justin, following in his footsteps as coaches with the Celtics and at URI, respectively.
For that to be named after him is a symbol of like a place of home for a lot of people. When someone doesn't have a place to go after school, when someone doesn't know what to do with their lives, they can just go to the rec and play and have fun and enjoy a sense of community. And to have that place with my dad's name on it just goes to show like his constant positive influence on people.
When you have kids, your kids won't know Dan. My kids won't know, But that's a name that they go in that gym, they're gonna see that name. We just got a banner for Coach Dan at the high school. Kind of just like right under the 1,000 point. Our booster club, we got it for him just to kind of to keep that name alive.
I'm sure his family had to feel that this was his life, and although they shared it with him, there was a lot of time that he spent away to make sure that this place and the Rhino Gym and whatever else was that he was maintaining, ball fields and whatnot. So I guess it was for them had to be really fulfilling to know that, hey, he's being recognized for. We had to share Dad with recreation, and so I'm sure it meant a lot to them.
He didn't really care about the credit as much as he did to make sure, he's always big on leaving things in a better place, and he always wanted to make sure stuff was, you leave it better than you found it. And I think that day at the induction, I think he left Johnston in a better place. He left it better than he found it. I think when you meet with him, you leave a better person than you were before your interaction with him. And that was a big thing for him. So being there at that day and just watching kind of how it has kicked off, I think he'd really be at rest and peace knowing he left it better than he found it. And each person there, I think, is better off because they know him.
It's a big plus for the town of Johnston. All the town of Johnston had from in 1960 on was that Rhino Gym. And don't get me wrong, Rhino Gym got a lot of use 7 days a week in there. When his father, myself, and him, and then with this 3 basketball courts here, we did everything with 1. We couldn't even use the schools before. Then they loosened up a bit. But now you got 3 basketball courts, a Rhino Gym, and the world of basketball is big in Johnston. So that place is a big asset for the town. Nothing but good's gonna come from there. Nothing but good.
I refer to it as the Mazzulla Center, because that's what they changed the name to. And his name deserves to be thrown all around the state, all around the country. It's just good to get his name out as much as possible. It's well deserved. He had so much impact on so many people that are still involved in youth sports today and involved in the town today. So, his recognition is just, it's unmeasurable that it should be.
One of the things my brother said in his eulogy is he's like, he doesn't want people to keep saying sorry for your loss. He wants to celebrate his life and remember him. So all of these opportunities for us to, get together and, tell stories and, it's made it feel like it hasn't been 3 years. It makes it feel like, you know, he's not really gone because, you know, we talk about him regularly. We're always telling stories about him, and it's, you know, it's not like he passed away and we're like, all right, let's not ever talk about him again. So I love these opportunities where, like, Rhino Gym just got opened up. So, you know, you go there and, you know, he got brought up again, and a lot of people had stories to tell about him then. So, you know, he's put enough of his life into the town where no matter where we go, no matter what we do, like, there's always going to be something said about him, and 9 times out of 10 it's something good.
And a lot of the lessons he taught in sports were mirror images of lessons of life. And it took a lot of people in high school, it took a lot of people in middle school to be like, oh, Coach Dan is such an a-hole. Like, he's always yelling at me. He's always yelling at me to get on the line, touch the line, get low. Like the littlest things. But those translated to the little things in life. And those little things matter. And always being detailed, he just loved details. And so you could take the teachings you got from him in sports, and if you apply that to your life and like live those life lessons from him, you'd set yourself up for great success. And that's the message that he would never say, but that's the message that is what he wanted to say through his teachings.
Yeah, a lot of great times.